Hey everybody, Dimitri here. Unfortunately, Nick and I were unable to coordinate for this week's recording due to a bad case of the flu. But don't worry, we'll look back at the original Hercules movie later this month. In the meantime, here's a previously unaired episode of Don't F with the Original in which we talk about Arthur.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't F with the Original. I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic.
And I'm Nicholas. I do a video games review for Idiomatic.
And today we're going to talk about Arthur.
That's a 1981 movie.
Directed by Steve Gordon, and written by Steve Gordon as well.
Yeah.
And of course starring Liza Minnelli and Dudley Moore.
Yeah, starring more Dudley Moore than Liza Minnelli, I'd say.
Well, yeah, the character of Arthur was actually co-created with Dudley Moore for himself. He needed a vehicle to sort of jump into the movies and pierce the American market, and he created the Arthur character to do that. So it was completely his creation with Steve Gordon.
Okay.
Now, of course, the remake came out with Russell Brand, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to review the original Arthur, and then we're going to talk about a little bit why the remake didn't seem interesting to us, because to my understanding, we both like Arthur the original.
Yep, I like it. So Arthur is a kid, a rich family. He's extremely bored with his life. He's just spends his life drinking, and basically to get his inheritance, he needs to marry a girl that he doesn't really like. And at the same time that happens, he meets a poor working class girl that he falls in love with. And he's conflicted. Do I go marry the rich girl and get all this money? Or do I just follow my heart and marry the girl I really like?
One key thing that I don't think you mentioned. He's a freaking drunk!
Yes, he is a drunk. I'm guessing he's more of a drunk because he's bored with his life.
See, I didn't interpret it the same way.
Okay.
I feel he's more of a drunk because he has no love in his life. Early in a movie, they have a conversation between him and his father, where they're clearly estranged, and they do mention that it all started with their mother. His mother passed away, and they became estranged. And you get the impression of a guy who never really got over his mother's death because it must have happened when he was very young, and his father is not a loving man.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of stuck up. They're rich, stuck up folk, you know? And so he sort of grew up very lonely without direction, and that's how he fell into alcoholism.
Yeah. But he's not a mean drunk, though. He's a lovable drunk. That's what makes the movie, bearable. I mean, sorry, it makes the character bearable, because I usually don't like drunk alcoholic people in my movie, but, he's kind of lovable, which, probably tells us a lot about Dudley Moore's acting.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a weird movie when you watch it today because of that. Because this is a movie where alcoholism has no consequence.
Yeah.
All the people in his life like him as a drunk. They don't really mind. Like, there's a passing mention from his future father-in-law if he marries the rich girl that he wants him to stop drinking. But that's pretty much the only time it's mentioned.
Yeah, and I think it's to make the future father-in-law look pretty bad and mean, because everybody else seems to not mind him being drunk, and you're going to have to stop drinking, and you don't like that character all of a sudden for, wow, he's so mean, why would he say that?
You really couldn't have that today. It's just so politically incorrect. And I was actually surprised watching it that in 1981 it still wasn't necessarily recognized as a problem.
Yeah, it's true. We all did, especially at one point in the movie, he's driving his car and drinking alcohol at the same time. And he's obviously drunk when he reaches his destination. It's like, wow, that would never pass today. No way.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, if my kids were watching it, I would watch it with them to sort of talk a little bit about what's going on in this movie.
Yeah, yes.
One of the weird things, though, about this movie, apart from the alcoholism, is also the fact that there is no conflict per se. Like, he has a pretty blessed life just for being rich, and it's not one of those movies that tell you, it's like, the rich have problems too, because he really doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
The two women that he split between, they're both good women. That's the weird thing about it.
Yeah, I had no hatred for Susan whatsoever. The woman, the rich woman he's supposed to marry. She was a very nice person, and she loved him. And he didn't love her, never actually mentioned why. He never actually says why he doesn't love her, he just doesn't. I guess that's enough for us. But she's a very nice girl.
Yeah, she's played by Jill Aikenberry, and she has so much compassion for him all the time, and she even says it at their dinner conversation where she goes like, "Look, you'll meet a lot of women, and they'll want to change you, and they'll want you to stop drinking, and want you to stop being you." It's like, I'm not like that. I love you exactly like you are. And you're looking at this, it goes like, I don't see the downside to you marrying him. And again, it's all about Liza Minnelli and Dudley Moore playing it so well that you understand that he's just not interested in her. That's the only problem with her. He likes her. He genuinely likes Susan. He thinks she's a swell person. In fact, at the end when he makes his final decision, he does it in a way that benefits Susan as a way to atone for. Because he realizes that he's hurting a person that's actually generally nice, and he has morals about it. So you can tell he actually likes Susan. It's not a person he disrespects in any way, apart from him calling her an asshole at some point.
Yeah. Well, he was drunk. That's understandable.
Well, yeah, but even then, when he calls her an asshole, he calls her an asshole for loving him.
Yeah.
So it's more a reflection of how he feels about himself than how he feels about Susan.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's all about the fact that Liza Minnelli, he clicks with her, and Susan, he doesn't click with her, and there's nothing else to it. It's just chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's nothing wrong with the girl. Maybe her father is a little bit insane.
Yeah.
So, but that's just the family. You can kind of ignore the family after a while.
And it's all the actors, like, because the screenplay never gives you any reason, like you point out.
Yeah.
But the actors totally do. You can see that him and Susan, just by looking at them, it wouldn't work out. And him and Liza Minnelli, oh yeah, I can see them having fun together. It's a weird thing. It's just the actors really conveying that when the screenplay doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. His butler was also a great character.
Oh my god, he's played by John Gielgud. He's amazing.
Yes, he's very funny. He's the one that makes the whole Arthur character very likable, because at the beginning Arthur was like, well, he's kind of an annoying drunk, but then his interaction with the butler really made me like both the characters very much. That's what made me get into the movie a lot more. And he's a great character and well played as well. Phenomenal act.
Yeah, because they have sort of a father-son dynamic, sort of like Alfred and Batman, essentially. That's the sort of dynamic they have, except with a lot of sarcasm.
Yes.
You're right. It's really him and the butler that makes you like Arthur so much, because at the beginning of the movie, what they do, they introduce the butler after his first drunken scene, and you finally get introduced to his home life. You're introduced to the butler, and the butler just keeps insulting Arthur, line after line, one snappy insult after the other. It's not like Arthur doesn't know this. He just thinks it's kind of funny, and he's sort of really affectionate about it.
Yeah.
In fact, Arthur is more about his relationship with the butler than it is about anything else.
Yeah.
It's Hobson and Arthur is really the relationship that's driving the story. There's the conflict comes from the two women, but the through line and what makes Arthur grow is all related to Hobson.
Yeah, that's true.
It's such a good screenplay because I don't know if you've noticed, but in that universe, everybody's witty. Like, he goes to the florist. The florist, like, has a snappy response to what he says. He talks to a taxi driver. Taxi driver has snappy responses. He hires a prostitute. Prostitute has snappy responses.
Yeah.
Everybody's witty in that movie.
And that's as well. Very funny, He wants his daughter to marry the millionaire because he's kind of in a dump, and he is hilarious, and he'll do everything.
He's so shameless about it, too.
Yes. Oh, we need to get these kids together. He says to the butler, he really, he wants the money.
It's even funny because Hobson has absolutely no patience for the man, which is great.
He asks him, go make me tea, and he comes with tea. I don't like tea.
Yeah, that's one thing about Hobson is that he's not just sarcastic towards Arthur. He is a jerk towards everyone.
Yes. Even the Linda character, and, Arthur gets angry at him, and he realizes for the first time, wow, I got angry at you for the first time because you weren't nice to her, and he's just, that makes him realize that he probably really likes Linda.
Mm. And it also makes Hobson realize, not just Arthur. John Gielgud has this great facial expression after that where you can see that Hobson realizes, like, oh, this is the first time I see you care about anyone. You must really like that girl, you know? And he's kind of sweet, because suddenly his attitude towards Linda changes as well. Like the butler's attitude changes as well.
Yeah.
It's a really sweet relationship. It's the crux of the entire movie, and it's absolutely engrossing. It's super cute. And then the movie takes a dramatic turn, and it feels appropriate,
Yeah.
Okay, anything you didn't like about the movie?
Well, one thing that distracted me about was Liza Minnelli. After all the jokes of how weird she looks and everything that have been going on for like the last 10 years, seeing her in the movie was kind of distracting. You get over it after a while, but still, you see her and you're like, really? Arthur's falling for her? It's odd.
It's not like he's good looking himself.
Yeah, but he's rich, so he can, he's fine. But she's like, she's weird looking, and she's, why would you go for that? And after a while, you can see the chemistry because they you see the chemistry when they talk together. But at the beginning, you're like, really?
Well, keep in mind that he has permanent beer goggles, so
I guess so.
You know what? But she has so much charisma. It really is not just the chemistry. I think she has so much presence that you can understand how she's sort of a seductive presence.
Yeah.
I want to get back to one thing you mentioned, though. The fact that he's not a mean drunk. I think that's really important because I saw Arthur 2 on the Rocks, just a sequel they made about 5 or 6 years later.
They made a sequel?
Yeah.
Oh.
Boy, does it not work. Because Hobson's not there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so you're missing a large part of the movie. I mean, he does make an appearance eventually, but the most important thing that's missing is that the jokes when he's drunk and talking to strangers and being his obnoxious drunken self, he comes off as mean.
Asshole.
Well, he's being a bit of a jerk and being a little bit abrasive.
Yeah.
In his approach to people, and he insults another rich guy at some point, which in the first movie they are very careful about it. He doesn't. The only person he ever insults is himself.
Yeah.
And you get the sense of somebody who really profoundly doesn't like himself, and that's why he's the way he is.
Yeah. So, why? I mean, it felt that he drank because, like you said, he was lonely, he didn't have a lot of love, so he's with the Linda character, I'm guessing, in the second movie.
Yeah.
Why does he still keep drinking?
Well, actually, the second movie is all about him learning not to drink anymore.
Oh, okay.
But getting back to the first one, yeah, there is a point where he stops drinking, and you realize that he's really not that different when he stops drinking.
Yeah.
He just slurs a little less. I really didn't see anything else different about him.
Although the drunken acting was kind of, you're pretending to be drunk. It's really obvious.
Yeah, it's a different style of acting back then.
Yeah.
It's a lot more stagey. He comes off a little bit like an SNL character.
Yes, he does. It's really like, you're pretending to be drunk. We get the point out. You're drunk, and you're kind of, a funny drunk. You say the funny things, but you're obviously not drunk. You're a guy pretending to be drunk.
Yeah, it's sort of a larger than life caricature, and I think it works on that level. You know what I mean? Like, because if you were drunk for real, it would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but you could play drunk better, is what that was saying.
Possibly, yeah. Although, can you with lines like his? Because no drunk is that witty. You know what I mean? Because he's a very, very witty and articulate drunk. And I can't imagine anybody playing drunk for real convincing us that a drunk man can come up with those jokes.
That's true. That is true. Well, he is British. Maybe British people, are better drunks than Americans.
They really are not. Have you ever been to a football game?
That's true.
Britishers get drunk like American frat boys get drunk. It's Saturday morning, everybody's vomiting on the side of the street. That's how it worked in the UK. Why is he British, by the way?
I don't know.
Because Arthur, he's clearly a British character. He still speaks with a British accent.
Yeah.
His father is not. He's in America, and he seems to be old money. So, why is he British?
Because it's a vehicle for Dudley Moore, and he's British.
Boy, we have a lot less to say about this movie than I thought we would, because it's such a weird movie.
It's a weird movie, but that's the thing. There's no real conflict. There's no real story. It's just stuff that happens, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, and they don't make movies like that anymore. Now it's all the McKee sort of structure, 5-act structure, and somebody must go down at the end and things. It's like in this movie, nobody really stands in the way of Arthur except Arthur himself, really.
Exactly. It's Arthur being Arthur, and that's the whole movie. It's him living his life, and he reaches the point where he has to make a choice. Girl he doesn't like or money, or girl he loves and no money.
Yeah. And then, that sacrifice sort of rectifies itself for some reason that's
Yeah.
completely convoluted.
I don't know. I thought it was funny.
It just means, without going to spoilers, it turns out that the dilemma wasn't really quite what it seemed.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've mentioned this briefly, but I do like the way he deals with the dilemma. Like, where you see that he's a nice guy who's completely conscious of what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, he's completely conscious that his drunkenness does make him a stumbling fool, and that he does hurt people sometimes as a result of his actions. Because he's stuck in a dilemma where whatever he does is going to hurt someone. He's either going to hurt Linda or Susan. One of them is going to be hurt.
Yeah.
Because it is a scene that you see in every movie. The wedding scene.
Yeah.
And it's in every movie. And every one of these movies end up with the same way, you know? Somebody gets left at the altar, you know? And this is one of those rare movies where that's actually addressed. Where, like, leaving somebody at the altar is not a nice thing. Archie wasn't Spider-Man 2, but...
Oh, you can name hundreds of movies like that. Just, you're supposed to, leave the person at the altar. That's funny, because he's with his true love. Yeah, other people have feelings.
Well, not funny, but you're supposed to be all happy with, like, defining moment. It was like, there was a way to do this without being such a jackass to the other person,
Yeah, even if you're not the main character, you kind of feel for the other person that gets left at the altar like that. You're like, that's bad.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I feel like Steve Gordon's screenplay, again, addresses that. Where, the characters do something about it the best they can out of a bad situation, and there's an actual effort being made,
Yeah.
And it's nice.
Yeah, you still feel bad for Susan too anyway. I mean, it's but you realize it's a bad situation, and they're trying to, like you said, make the best of it.
No, it's a really sweet movie. Oh, that's the thing. The music, the theme song.
I still have that damn theme song in my head.
I know, it stays with you, isn't it?
Yes.
You know what? But it's a beautiful song. First of all, it's a really nice, beautiful '80s ballad. Certainly one of the better '80s ballads that you can come up with, really. And here's the thing about it: when you hear that music at the beginning of the movie, would you expect like this sort of goofball comedy?
No, you don't. You expect like something a more serious, a more romantic thing. It's not what you expect at all.
I know, it's such a weird thing. Because usually, especially nowadays where things are a little bit more genre oriented, a comedy has a goofy pop track.
Yeah.
And here you're listening to this and you're going like, I'm expecting The Way We Were.
And it's a weird song too, because it was made for that movie, because it talks about Arthur and. You wouldn't see, I don't know if there are many songs like that just made specifically for that movie that had a huge hit like that. Sometimes they would just, normally, I think movies now, they just grab songs that are popular and put them in their soundtracks. That song was made specifically for that movie. And, if you're listening and you don't know, you're listening to the song and you're like, who the hell's Arthur? And so I'm not sure artists would, or, whoever writes those songs would take the risk like that of such a specific song written for a movie like that. That's totally not according with the genre of the movie as well.
It's a great choice, though, because it sort of adds a certain layer of somberness to the whole proceedings that the movie kind of needs to have a little bit more weight, because as we mentioned, there's no conflict. Yeah. So that music alone puts you in a mindset where you can look at his clear alcoholism problem a bit more seriously than the screenplay would have you do.
Yeah, exactly.
And all these elements, they're all sort of playing against each other, and it all works out. It's a weird thing.
Yeah. I've not seen it that way, but I can see it. Yeah.
And that song is actually really lovely. Certainly better than the song in Arthur 2 on the Rocks, which was written by Chris de Burgh.
Oh, God.
And he went for the same style, where it's a lot softer than it needs to be.
Okay.
But it's Chris de Burgh, and you're like, ugh. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Chris de Burgh is a bad artist. I love his early stuff from the 70s, but when he went into 80s ballad mode, you're like, oh, I've listened to one song, I've listened to them all.
So it sounds like Lady in Red?
Yeah! Well, all his songs from that point, after Lady in Red became a huge hit, every song from Chris de Burgh sounds like Lady in Red.
Go with what works, I guess.
Why fix it if it ain't broken? Unless, you've been repeating it for 20, 30 years.
And sound like a broken record. Hello.
Hello.
And now the remake.
Yes, the remake. Let's talk about the remake. We have not seen the remake, so whatever we say about it, it comes from a complete place of ignorance. We're really discussing what did not attract us about it in terms of the project, not the actual movie.
It comes from watching the trailer. Main problem when I saw from the trailers, the actor did not look likable at all. He just seemed like a giant man child. He was not alcoholic. That you could see from the trailer. So it was just a man acting like a boy. I have millions of dollars. This is what I'm doing. I'm trying to drive a Batmobile now for some reason. It just seemed very, very stupid, and the character did not seem likable to me. And from that, you just lost me. The real thing about Arthur, the original, was that all the characters was likable. If you can't make the character likable for me in the trailer, you lost me.
Yeah. In fairness, I mean, it's Arthur is played by Russell Brand, and of course, the problem with Russell Brand is that he's no Dudley Moore. Dudley Moore is an incredibly charismatic and charming figure. He's a great comedian. Russell Brand is a good comedian, but he's not on the same league. So
yeah.
But the thing with him, though, I didn't take it the same way, because from the trailer you don't see anything, but I don't know. I just assumed because it's Russell Brand that they replace alcohol with youthful drug abuse, and even though he's not using drugs anymore, his brain is fried. But you're right about the lovability of the characters. Me was less about Arthur and more about basically how you do a movie today. Because if they're going to update it today, they're going to use that formula we have today. Because the thing to remember about the original Arthur, it came out in 1981. The blockbuster machine, the cinema industry as we know it today, did not exist yet. Star Wars had only come out 4 years before Jaws, 3 years before that. So the blockbuster summer making machine that Spielberg and Lucas sort of created and transformed cinema through did not yet exist.
Okay.
So, and you were still in the first wave of filmmakers. When I say first wave, I mean the first wave of filmmakers who actually went into film because they wanted to make film. Because before that, it was people from theater who transferred to film.
Okay.
So you can feel the experiment in there. There's no real plot. There's no, it's just people doing stuff, and then an arbitrary end happens. Everybody gets to be charming without any structure. But now, the formula has been crafted, and they know that audience get involved in conflict and whatnot, which means that I was more concerned about the Susan character.
Yes.
Susan is great in the original Arthur because she offers no conflict. She offers a genuine dilemma instead.
Yeah, she's so lovable.
You're watching as an audience member going like, I don't know who Arthur should end up with because that chick is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I think Jennifer Garner, who's playing the new Susan, is gonna be stuck in a screenplay that's gonna have her be a lot more of an abrasive bitch.
Yeah, apparently to reviews I've seen, she is an abrasive bitch.
Then Arthur just becomes another romantic comedy as opposed to what made the original Arthur unique.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, do I marry the bitch and the money or, the sweet girl I love? It's not even a conflict that, where it's going to go. If you make one of the characters not likable, everybody's rooting for the other one, and you lose what Arthur had.
No, I agree. Yeah. I will say, though, Helen Mirren replacing Hobson as the nanny instead of the butler.
Yeah.
That's great, though, because I like Helen Mirren a lot.
Yeah.
And she's funny. And she can certainly play a likable bitch.
Yes, I can see her being that, but again, just Arthur not being likable just kind of kills it for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, we're all judging this. I want to stress, we haven't seen the movie. None of what we're saying counts as an actual criticism of the new movie because we haven't seen it.
We've seen trailers and reviews. That's about it.
And what we're discussing is the reason why the movie didn't interest us, even though we liked the original.
Yeah.
And it's all these elements that, with the new way of making films, all I'm seeing is a formula picture that we've seen 1,000 times before. And the thing about Arthur that makes it special is that it was just too new, too fresh to know the formula, so it just went into completely unpredictable directions.
Yeah.
And watching a formula being imposed on that is like, why? What's the point?
Yeah. It's, I think, visual because you need likable characters. That's what made Arthur for me. Every character was, amazing, and I wanted to see more of them. And when you show me a trailer with a guy dressed as a Batman with a Mexican as Robin, What the hell? I'm not interested in seeing that at all.
And I think the original is clearly a vehicle to drive very charming actors. And just from the look of it, again, I haven't seen the movie, it looks like it's a lot more plot-driven. And that goes against the spirit.
Okay.
Arthur is not called the millionaire who must choose between two girls. It's called Arthur. And it's because Arthur has to be driving force. It's character-driven, not plot-driven. And this looks very plot-driven.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that's our thoughts. If you've seen the remake and you go like, this is good, you're all stupid, I invite you to write to us.
Or if you've seen the original and you think the original's crap, go ahead and write to us as well.
You can write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment right below the episode at idiomanic.com.
That's it for us.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.